come out into the backyard because I thought I might slip off for a little while. Take a short walk up in the woods. That helps clear my mind, kind of helps give me a little bit of peace so I can continue when I'm feeling maybe frustrated or overwhelmed or whatever it is you're feeling. It gives me peace to be in the woods for sure. Now in Appalachia we say that, slip off. We're going to slip off. That means we're going to leave without telling anybody. Usually you're not gone too long if you do that. You wouldn't want to slip off for a week and not tell nobody where you're gone. Of course they would worry. One time Corey did that to me. She didn't slip off for no week, but she was so small that her slipping off did worry me. At that time, she was probably, I guess, about 5 years old maybe. And we had a dog at that time that Matt was letting come in and out of the basement. Well, he had propped the basement door, the garage door, propped it up on some blocks so that, just left enough space for the dog to come in and out. And Corey, too little really, like at that age I wouldn't have let her go down in the basement by herself, her and Katie, to play, because there's too many things they could get into without me. But she went down there. She's too short to turn on the light, so she went down into that dark basement and went over there to the door and crawled under the door like the dog, and she went down to Pap and Granny's. She slipped off down to Pap and Granny's. She knew better. She knew she shouldn't do that, but she figured that they would protect her from the wrath of her mama. She was sitting down there eating ice cream, is what she was doing. Well, when I began to notice she was missing, of course I got extremely worried and searched all over outside, searched inside, and couldn't find her. Katie didn't know where she was at. It's just me and Corey and Katie here. And so finally I called Granny and Pap to get them to help me look for her, and that's where she was at. And she had told them that I said it was okay for her to come down there, or they would have already called me, of course. But she slipped off that time. She didn't do it again after that, though, without telling me, because she did get in some trouble. Pap would often slip off. In the years before he died, Granny wanted him to stay close to home. She didn't want him to slip off, but he would. He'd slip off down to Paul's where there's nobody there, but he could go down there and play the guitar, pick the guitar, and sing, and probably read his Bible some and pray. Sometimes he'd slip off and come up here to see what we were doing. Matt slips off like that sometimes on me. All of a sudden I'll realize maybe on the weekend, and especially in the winter, we're inside and I think he's in the living room or something, and I come through the house to ask him something and he's gone. I don't know where he's went. Well, I figure he slipped off up in the woods to maybe get him a moment's peace, or to see if he can see any deer sign, or just see what's going on in the woods. He's like me. He likes to be out in the woods, and that's kind of a place to kind of unwind your mind and straighten out your thoughts and get a little bit of peace, as I said, to just continue. Another way that word or that phrase slip off is used in the mountains of Appalachia, of course, is you might slip off to get married. Pap and Granny slipped off to get married. They didn't really intend to. Maybe Pap did. I'm suspicious of whether he did, but Granny didn't. She thought they were just going to go get a marriage license and then they were going to come back home and she was going to have a wedding later, but he convinced her on the way to get married. So they slipped off from Granny's parents and got married. One other way of slipping off comes to mind. For many years, Bradley Bennett, he read my blog. He became just a dear friend to me. He was such a huge supporter of the blog, and his comments were always wise and informative. He was just such a gentle spirit. He was very talented too. One time I wrote about the girl with chinky pin eyes. That girl was me. People always told me I had chinky pin eyes when I was a small girl, just because my eyes are really dark. And I shared a picture that I thought fit that perfectly, the girl with the chinky pin eyes, and it was a picture that was taken, I was probably about 5, about like when Corey slipped off, and I can remember where it was taken, in the old Martins Creek school, burnt down, no longer there, but it was one of those school days where they were doing pictures, and Steve was having his picture made, and so Granny, in those days you could bring, I guess, siblings, so she took me along even though I wasn't going to school yet, and I got my picture made. And it's a very solemn picture. I'm not smiling at all. I'll try to, maybe I should insert it here on the video so you can see it, or better than that, I should insert what Bradley did for me. He was an amazing artist, and he drew that picture and sent it to me. One of my treasures. I have it hanging in my bedroom, mine and Matt's bedroom, near my bed. But he was just a dear person. Well, one time when I was writing or talking, I mentioned slip off or something on the Blind Pig and the Acorn. He said he wanted to share a story about slipping off. Well, he said where he worked, that one time he overheard kind of the bosses talking about him. And one of them said, you know, I think Bradley is moderately intelligent. I think he's fine. But the thing I've always admired about him is that no matter what the job is that we give him, he does it without complaint, does it well. But even the most tedious things, he doesn't, you know, there's no angst or refusal or anything like that. You can't sense anything. He's just happy to do whatever job it is. He said, well, I never told them my secret. My secret was I wasn't even there when I was doing the job. In my mind, I'd slipped off. I slipped off back to days, memories that were long gone, things I treasured in my heart. And he said, and that made it pass by quickly, you know. He said, we always long to go back to those places sometimes, memories, you know, that are dear and near to your heart. But he said the great thing about memories is at least you can go back and visit them in your heart and in your mind. So that was his way of slipping off when he was at work and they give him a job that wasn't much fun or was kind of tedious. So that always stuck with me. I thought, well, there's one more way of being able to slip off, not just like I'm about to do, off into the woods, or like Pap used to do when he slipped off to Paul's to play the guitar, or even Corey's way when she slipped off to Granny and Pap's to eat her some ice cream. Look at all these little blooms that were in the trail. I think they might be persimmon blooms, but I'm not sure. But they're still sprinkled around in the trail. This time of the year, it's like snow in the summer or snow in late spring. You can see all the ivy blooms. Along with the beauty of the ivy blooms, it's always beautiful moss to look at. Our mountain holler is just covered up with ivy and rhododendron. Actually, I should explain that. What we call ivy is mountain laurel. What we call mountain laurel is rhododendron. So this is what we call ivy. But look at this, the new growth of leaves this year. Look how waxy and green they look. Aren't they beautiful? So that's just new growth from this year. You can see some of the older growth is tattered and that deeper green color. Beautiful new growth though. This one's not blooming yet, but it will be by next year. The ivies have been blooming for 2 weeks, so they're nearing their end, but you can see still how lovely they are.